Afade, welcome to the interview, our first interview in Decision 2024 with the Democratic candidate for U.S. Delegate for the Northern Mariana Islands, Congressman Ed Propst. Mr. Propst, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. I'm excited to be here and with you and answering questions and sharing our vision.
And so we are here at your late parents' home in Susupi. This is also the location where you announced your candidacy.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this place and why it was significant for you to announce here.
Well, this home that we're in right now is my parents' home, and I grew up here since I was in high school. A lot of memories from this home, and my parents had always ensured that it was all about welcoming others into their home. And so we'd have a lot of big parties and celebrations here, and whenever I am here, I can really feel my parents' presence. I feel very close to them. So it made sense, not just to have this interview here, but to make my announcement here at my parents' residence in honor of them.
And so we know that you're a 5-term House of Representatives member. Tell us a little bit about what brought you into public office and part of your background that led you to serve.
Sure. Thank you. Great question. I can tell you when I was younger, I never thought of serving. I actually, at a young age in high school, would look at the issues affecting the CNMI, and I remember writing letters to the editor as far back as in high school with regard to different issues, current events at the time. I've always felt that I know our leaders do their very best. I felt if they were wrong on an issue, that it was our duty to explain that there's a better option. And I don't want to say I was a harsh critic, but I often offered constructive criticism. Throughout my years growing up, I felt that was part of our duty. But I left Saipan in the 90s, early 90s, to go off to college, and I attended the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where I graduated with the bachelor's degree in communication. And I came back. I had the opportunity to work a few different jobs, but I chose to teach at Mariners High School. I worked there for a while. I worked at the Northern Mariners College, and then I worked as a program manager for the Head Start program here under PSS. And I was the program manager for 5 years before I decided to make a run for office. And it was a lofty goal. Honestly, when I first started, starting, of course, with a very small budget, a very small committee of there was 3 of us at the time. And I was running in the biggest precinct, Precinct 1. So it was not easy. But I'm very fortunate. I had a great chairwoman and vice chair and treasurer and supporters who would open the doors for me. And I'd just basically go and meet with them and talk with them. And I was very blessed to, to have their vote of confidence. In fact, there was 17 candidates running. I thought, and I think my number was number 15, and I automatically assumed that that's not a good thing or whatever. Long story short, we ran a very, very honest campaign. We talked about the issues, what I want to do in the precinct and beyond, what I feel for the Commonwealth vision of, where we should be, a fiscally conservative government, one that focuses on helping the people, not just the selected few. And I ensured that that's what I was going to stand for. I was fortunate to get elected, and the good people of Precinct 1 elected me 4 times after that. I can't thank the people enough. I think it's one of the reasons that I every day I realize how much I owe to the people that I serve. And of course, when you get elected, you don't only represent your precinct. You have to think of the Commonwealth as a whole. You think of every island, every person, and it doesn't matter if they're a citizen or not. You're going to help people regardless, and that includes political affiliations. That's one thing that we've always ensured. We help everyone, regardless.
When was the moment you knew you wanted to run for delegate? Because I know early on you mentioned you went out to the media and even mentioned it on KUAM that you would run if Kilili decided not to seek re-election. But aside from that fact, what was the moment for you that said, I'm going to do this and I want to do this?
Well, the moment really came when I was talking with my wife Daisy and our children about it. And that there was rumor that Congressman Kilili would not seek another term. And of course, there was no formal announcement or whatever, so I had just small talks over dinner and discussions that, what do you think, you know? And Daisy and our kids were very supportive of it. They thought it was exciting. And they, you know, not just offered their support, so they believe in me, which is, of course, critical. Then I started talking to some family, some friends, just small groups to talk about the possibility of should Kilili decide not to run. So it really all came down to, when Kilili made his formal announcement that he would not be seeking another term. I made it clear from the beginning that I won't run against Kilili. And that's not because he's related to my wife or anything that people may think. It's because I have the greatest respect for him. I still firmly believe in his, not just his leadership, but all he has been able to do for the CNMI. Knowing Kilili all these years, he has pretty much been the same humble gentleman that you would expect, and he's always managed to come through for the CNMI, and if he's fallen short, he admits to it. He's humble enough to admit to it. But when he had announced that he wasn't going to run, that's when I really had discussions with more and more friends and family, and that includes my colleagues. That includes the governor and lieutenant governor, and my former committee members. And so it was through many discussions that I had decided that I will seek running for delegate. It's huge shoes to fill, and as I've said in the past, that no matter who wins in November, you got to remember that Congressman Kilili is irreplaceable. One thing that I will offer and focus on is continuity, and that includes major discussions with him on bills and things that he wants to continue to push through, and things that I think is best in the CNMI's interests. If elected, I offer that continuity and consistency that one can expect. I have also ensured through my record as not just a representative of the minority, but also the leadership, and as a floor leader, that I fully embrace the entire legislature, the House and the Senate. Whether we have disagreements or not, it's not a personal issue. It's something that we continue to discuss. We have had heated arguments. There's no doubt about that, but we leave it on the floor. We leave it there, and it took some time to realize that, that you don't go home upset because you didn't get your way. You live to fight another day.
How would you define your legislative record and some of your major success in the past 10 years?
Thank you, and a great question. I've served for almost 10 years now, and oftentimes I have been told, well, what significant legislation has he passed? What are the greatest accomplishments that he has done for the people? And one of the things that I like to tell the people is that, I am one spoke in a turning wheel, and I'm one voice out of many. But I can ensure that every time I've spoken out against certain bills, whether they're good or bad for the CNMI, I'll explain why I'm voting for that bill, why I'm opposed, or why I'm opposed to it. Clearly, in the very beginning of my first few terms, I was a minority, and I had to work as best as I could with the leadership to ensure that things were being uncovered, things that were concerning for our people. If you look back, one of the biggest things that happened was with the a sole source contract back in when the late Frank De La Cruz was chairman of public utilities. There was a sole source contract going on that I had gotten through a source, and we uncovered it. And although I wasn't serving on the committee, I got to sit in and work with the committee in ensuring that sole source contract never went through. In fact, it led to a lot more other things, including the dismissal of the entire COC board. That's just one of the many things I've stood for. I've questioned and fought against certain deals that I felt we weren't ready for. There was one point where, if you look at the battles in the past of salary increases for elected officials, and of course that made some sense at the time because of our relatively speaking, our wages, our salaries, what we were making. But as we looked at it, the increase that they were asking for was well beyond what we thought was fair and what was affordable. So I fought against that, and of course you bring it down to what happened with the casino. I have been grateful for the money that was coming in, but it always questioned the deal that we were giving up. The $7 billion investment, the fact that there was no completion bond, things that I rallied against to change. I've also, in my record, I've shown that when the original casino bill was put forth to the people, the biggest support group was the retirees, and they were supposed to benefit from the $15 million annual payout through the casino commission, and as it turned out, that had changed. We fought against that. Unfortunately, it changed to being awarded to the senatorial district. I question that. I'm grateful for Congressman B.G. Attal for bringing it back to the retirees where it originally belongs. There are many bills that I've introduced but they have always been about fairness and helping our people throughout the years I have served, probably.
Congressman Kiley was known for being able to build consensus in DC. He's had allies, major allies on both the Democrat and Republican parties. You will be entering a very divided House nationally. I think we've all seen that in the headlines.
Right.
How are you hoping to build consensus to get the NMI's agenda?
Sure. Well, that's no easy task for anybody that's going to be elected. But I can speak the way I work and the way I've been working as floor leader in this term and in previous terms, is that we have had debates, we've had discussions, but I've learned to really work well with my colleagues. If you look at my record as a floor leader right now, there is no real minority or majority in the House when it comes to helping our colleagues, especially if you look at our record when it comes to Tinian and Rhoda, assisting all. There's great fairness in that. But you have to look at the very root of it. You have to look at establishing what Kiley has been able to establish, and that is working relationships and reaching across that aisle and trying to get things moving. One of the things I learned early on is that if I couldn't pass something, that I had to go into leadership and ask them when I was in the minority. And that kind of workmanship is something that I will offer if elected as delegate. I have been able to work with virtually everybody. I have no enemies whatsoever in the House or the Senate. And again, it's human to have disagreements, but it's always critical to ensure that you have decorum and that you can establish some friendships along the way. I've built that, not just within our own party, but with other parties who are family and friends, although we may not always see politically the same or have the same view, there are a lot of common grounds that we will find. I think that's some of the greatest successes that Kennedy has been able to offer. He is an incredible people person, charismatic and very sincere. I hope to do the same with his guidance, with the way that I've been operating. I plan on doing the same.
And Representative, as I'm sure most people know, in 2020 you resigned. I wanted to talk and address the circumstances that led to that resignation. In particular, the allegations of sexual misconduct. I know you've come out in public on Facebook Live, as you're known to address these cases. When you announced your run for delegate, some in the public expressed concern about that pass.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you the opportunity to address the constituents who will be heading to the polls in November
Sure.
about this particular case.
Well, I cannot change what people think of me, what they say of me. I can tell you that I am a fantastic husband, father, and that I'm a pillar of this community. I have worked hard to get where I'm at. I continue to work hard where I'm at. I think if you look back when these allegations and these things that came up was at a time when we were investigating the government for corruption. It was at the middle of a hearing. And if you do look at the actual facts of everything that transpired, there were no complaints from the very beginning. This was a fishing expedition that they had brought upon through nefarious means to attack and smear me in the middle of an investigation. The hardest part of all of this is that if I did have affairs or whatever, that I would have to publicly admit to it, to publicly put myself out there. And that's something I wouldn't do to my wife, to my children, or to anybody. I would rather have stepped away. And I realized how dirty and politics can be. It was very painful to go through something like that, and I wish no one to go through that. But they were very painful allegations. They were hurtful to my character, and I decided to step away from politics at the time. I said, this is not worth it. This kind of smear campaign that people can be doing to you is just horrible. I didn't want to put my kids through that. But no matter what, so when I did resign, there was an understanding that all the attacks would stop, and they didn't. They continued. They continue till today. I can't do anything about that. That's irrelevant at this point.
And in our reporting, you haven't categorically denied the allegations. Would you like to address that on the record today?
I deny any wrongdoing. I admit that there are things that I've done that are wrong. Having affairs are something that I've done in the past that are very painful. But I would never talk about those again. Those are between me, my wife, and God. And just so you know, when they were making these allegations that certain things that happened, the way that they had done this investigation was unprecedented. They put me out in the paper. They had it announced every time, asking for people to come forward. And out of 20-some people that they were naming, they only targeted me. Why was that? Why was I the single only target? And at the time when the investigation started, there was not one single complaint against me. The complaints came when they continued to look out. And this is what I know. This is what I do know, is that they went to every single student, any rumor that had ever come about, they went to every single person to ask, about my past. And that is painful. Some of them would come to me. And it's something that I couldn't believe was happening to me, that they could do such an investigation like this on me. And Thomas, one of the worst things about this is that they knew when they began this whole investigation that criminally there was nothing that they could do. The statute, I went to an attorney to ask about this, and he said that, first of all, anything that they're bringing up is from 30 years ago, even if I deny it, they can still investigate me. But what is the point? They know that the statute of limitations had run out, that criminally they couldn't do anything. They pursued it regardless. To do what? To hurt me. To hurt my character. To destroy me as a person. You know, I made mistakes in my life, but I'm surprised that was brought up and something like that. When there are tons of people that they could have been looking at, active, ongoing cases. But I was the single person, named in all of that.
So what's your
That's
message
painful.
to people watching this who still have questions about your character and integrity? What would you say to them?
I can tell you that I'm a man of fault. I have made mistakes in my life, but I am not the same person I was many years ago. That I'd like to believe that people can change, that people can learn from mistakes and become a better person. I also believe that affairs and personal things in your life aren't to be put out like dirty laundry. I've never gone after other politicians who have made mistakes or whatever, and they've never had to come full and confess their sins. Why am I the exception to the rule?
Anything else you'd like to address on this matter?
I'd like to say that politics is a very difficult place to be in. Sometimes you run with the greatest intentions, and then you realize that it's not for you, because it can be very painful. There's nothing more painful than what I've been through and what people have done to me. All to stop an investigation, to stop me from speaking out against corruption and other things that have affected our people. We are in this financial quagmire, this hole, because of government corruption, special interests, and we're all paying the price for it. I've spoken out against this. I continue to speak out against it. That our people must come first before ourselves, and that's critical. Those are things that we have to ensure that when we represent our people, that seat doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the people that we serve. I've done that consistently. I never forget why I'm in office, and I'll bring that to DC if elected. I will fight for our people, ensure that there is parity, that we have always the best interests of our people, just as Kennedy has done for 16 years. I have that to offer.
As we end our segment, I wanted to ask you, if elected, if you win this November, what are some things you want to pursue in the nation's capital?
Well, first and foremost, Congressman Kennedy has served proudly for almost 16 years, and I want to ensure that his legacy continues. I would like to ensure that we expand assistance. He's been pushing for vulnerable residents and pursuing parity in the CNMI in most key federal programs. That includes lifting the cap on Medicaid, nutrition assistance in the territories, which is always critical, expanding and extending temporary assistance for needy families to the CNMI to help them achieve self-sufficiency. Of course, there's also the Population Stabilization Act, HR 560, that Kennedy has really pushed hard for. I will continue to push for that. That affects more than 3,000 guest workers, and that's something that we hope to accomplish. I will continue with his guidance to push for that. It's been difficult, but I think it's still worth pursuing for the best interests of our Commonwealth, and also just to help all workers here. The CNMI and American Samoa are the only two jurisdictions where the Wagner Pazer Act doesn't apply. I know that the Congresswoman Radewagen and Congressman Kennedy have worked hard and in achieving it, and it's very likely that it passed. But should it not, I will continue to ensure that moves forward. I also look at some of the things that we lack here. Something that I really want to push for is to ensure that we have our own district attorney for the CNMI. If you really look at it, Thomas, it's like we have a district attorney for the Marianas based in Guam, but that doesn't really help serve the CNMI. We have seen a lot of, we've seen the raids, we've seen all kinds of things that have happened over the years, and I don't feel that we're getting adequate attention that we deserve for the CNMI. American Samoa and every other territory has their own, U.S. attorney. Why doesn't the CNMI? Why do we have to share with Guam when we're completely two different governments? We are one Marianas in theory, but we're not when it comes to actual government. We do need our own U.S. attorney, just as we have our own federal district judge here, Chief Thomas Manglona, and our own magistrate, right? So these are things that I will push for if given the chance to serve the people.
Just wanted to give you the floor to address the constituents directly.
Sure.
And any message you have for them?
First and foremost, I want to thank my wife Daisy, my children, because everything I do is done with their approval and their love. I can't thank them enough, but I want to, in all sincerity, thank the good people of Precinct 1 who have been there for me, and this entire Commonwealth who have been so good to our family, to all our family, our friends, our extended family and friends. So many of our aunties and uncles who have opened their doors and their hearts to my family and myself. We are most grateful for that. I really hope to make everyone proud if given the opportunity to serve you and your family. I will continue to work hard. I will also ensure something that I didn't mention earlier, Thomas, but if we look at all the funds that are coming in from the United States, I think we need to have better, stricter control of these funds in the essence that they are being audited properly. We need more support from the federal government to help audit locally. And that's something that I feel is critical, because it seems that no matter how much money Kilili has brought into the people, what do we have to show for it? We had $500 million in ARPA that poured in. What do we have to show for it? We do know that there's some instant millionaires that were made from these funds. We do know there's a few great things that may have happened to it, but the bulk of it, where did that money go? The sad thing, the sad reality of it is, we still don't know. It's still being looked at and investigated. Where exactly did all the money go for ARPA? But you look past ARPA, you look past that, you look at all the Stabilization Act, all this federal money that is poured in, billions of dollars, and the accountability for it is called into question. Congressman Kilili delivers the money. How is it being spent? We need to ensure that that money is being audited properly, that we know where every single dollar is going. And that's something that I will ask for and work with our current governor, lieutenant governor, and my colleagues, and ensuring that that money is being spent not on things that we don't need, but on our people and lifting them up. Those are what's most critical to me.
All right, thank you so much, Representative Propst, for your time, and thank you, the audience, for joining us. You can continue to track our Decision 2024 coverage on KUAM.com. I'm Thomas Manglona, reporting on Saipan.